Hi, I'm Sean Bicchetti, Chief Economist at Freddie Mac. It seems like there's a new headline every day about the student debt crisis. Of course, the decades-long surge in the cost of college is well known. I attended the University of California shortly after tuition was first introduced there, over vigorous protests, I might add. Out of curiosity, I recently took a look at what it cost me. In the years since I started college, the overall price level in the U.S. has increased by a factor of about 4.5. But over the same period, the tuition at UC has increased by a factor of 12. And compared to other top schools, the University of California remains a bargain. Concern over student debt has increased recently. The amount of student loans outstanding tripled during the Great Recession, a period when the amount of auto loans, credit card debt, and other consumer debt declined significantly. And unfortunately, delinquencies and defaults on this rapidly growing stock of student loans have been very high. Now you're probably wondering what all this has to do with Freddie Mac. After all, we're involved in housing finance, not student loans. Well, one of the big puzzles in housing finance is the low rate of home ownership among millennials. While the home ownership rate has been declining for all age groups, the rate among the millennials is particularly low. This age group is the source of most of the first-time home buyers, and this age group also has the largest share of student debt. Is the burden of these student loans holding back home ownership for millennials? Well, the evidence on this question has been mixed. Some studies show almost no difference in home ownership between student borrowers and those with no student debt. Other studies have focused on the disappointing earnings of students who graduated during the recession and have come to the opposite conclusion. Recent studies by the Brookings Institute and by Zillow, along with new data released in the last few weeks by the Department of Education, have clarified the picture. In the interest of time, I'll hit just the highlights, but you can read the details in our monthly Insight and Outlook on the Housing and Research section of FreddieMac.com. When we review the new studies and data, we see three different types of student borrowers. We call the first type successful investors. These are borrowers who completed their degrees and found post-college employment and earnings that match their expectations. However, these borrowers may still be struggling to accumulate a down payment to purchase a home. Next are the disappointed earners. They graduated successfully, but the return on their education investment turned out to be less than expected. Students with specialized degrees are particularly likely to fall into this category. For example, I'm sure the 50% drop in oil prices this year has made things tough for newly graduating petroleum engineers. And lastly, we have the at-risk borrowers. The recent research focused on this group. They attended for-profit schools or less selective schools. Many of them failed to complete their studies. These borrowers tend to come from less affluent groups, and they may be economically worse off than before they started school. They have no improvement in their job prospects, but they have significant student debts to repay. And high rates of delinquency and default on their student loans has hurt their credit scores. This last group is a particular focus for Freddie Mac's efforts to support prudent, affordable lending to low and moderate income borrowers. Unfortunately, the impact on their credit scores of poor repayment performance may make it particularly difficult to assist some members of this group. For the disappointed earners, and even some of the successful investors, Freddie Mac's Home Possible Advantage program, with its option to pay as little as 3% down, may provide help in purchasing that first home. Now, this is a complicated topic. I encourage you to get more of the details in our monthly Insight and Outlook on FreddieMac.com.